Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hub, and before you scroll past this video thinking it's just another coin story, let me ask you something that might just change your entire day. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1974 sitting in your change jar right now could be worth $5 million? Yes, you heard that absolutely right, not 500, not 5,000, but $5 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. This isn't some fairy tale or clickbait nonsense. This is the very real, very documented story of the 1974 D. Lincoln penny. A coin so rare and so valuable that collectors around the world have been hunting for it like treasure seekers searching for buried gold. And the craziest part is that it could be hiding in your wallet, your piggy bank, or even that old coffee can in your garage where you toss spare change without a second thought. Now, I know what you're thinking. How on earth could a penny be worth millions? And trust me, by the end of this video, not only will you understand exactly why this particular coin is so insanely valuable, but you'll also learn about another penny that could make you $3 million richer. So you absolutely need to stick around until the very end, because missing out on this information could literally mean missing out on a fortune that's been sitting right under your nose this entire time. The 1974 D. Lincoln penny represents one of the most extraordinary chapters in American numismatic history. And when I tell you that verified examples of this coin have sold at auction for prices reaching into the millions, I'm not exaggerating even slightly. We're talking about a genuine, documented case where a piece of copper that was minted to be worth exactly 1 cent has become one of the most sought-after treasures in the entire coin collecting world. So what makes this particular penny so incredibly special, so monumentally valuable that collectors are willing to pay the price of a luxury mansion just to own one? Well, buckle up, because the story behind this coin is absolutely fascinating, and it all comes down to one word: error. You see, back in 1974, the Denver Mint was churning out millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies, stamping them with that distinctive D mint mark that indicates they were produced in Denver rather than Philadelphia or San Francisco, and under normal circumstances, every single one of these pennies would have been made from the same copper-plated zinc composition that was standard for the era. However, something went spectacularly wrong during the minting process, something so rare and so extraordinary that it created what numismatists now consider to be one of the holy grails of error coins. During production, an incredibly small number of 1974 D pennies were accidentally struck on aluminum planchets instead of the standard copper composition. And if you don't immediately understand why that's such a huge deal, let me explain. Aluminum pennies were never supposed to exist for public circulation, period. The U.S. Mint had been experimenting with aluminum as a potential replacement for copper because the price of copper was skyrocketing in the early 1970s. And they needed to find a more cost-effective material for penny production. So they created approximately 1.5 million experimental aluminum pennies in 1974 with plans to test public reception. But here's where things get absolutely wild. Congress ultimately rejected the aluminum penny idea, and the Mint was ordered to destroy every single one of these experimental coins, melting them down so they could never enter circulation. The Mint complied and destroyed the vast majority of these aluminum pennies. But as with any large-scale operation, a few coins managed to slip through the cracks. And this is where our incredibly valuable 1974 D aluminum penny enters the picture. It's estimated that only a handful of these aluminum pennies survived the destruction order, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe even fewer. Nobody knows the exact number for certain. But what we do know is that each surviving example is worth an absolute fortune because of their extreme rarity and the controversial circumstances surrounding their creation. Now, you might be wondering how you can tell if you've got one of these million-dollar pennies in your possession. And this is where things get really interesting, because identification requires careful attention to detail. First and foremost, you need to check the weight of your 1974 D penny, because this is the single most obvious distinguishing characteristic. A normal copper penny from 1974 weighs approximately 3.11 grams, while an aluminum penny weighs only about 0.9 grams, which is less than a third of the weight of a regular penny. If you place your 1974 D penny on a precision scale and it weighs significantly less than 3 grams, your heart should start racing because you might be holding a multimillion-dollar treasure. The visual appearance is also slightly different. Aluminum pennies have a distinctive silvery white color rather than the reddish-brown copper tone, and they also produce a different sound when dropped on a hard surface, creating a higher-pitched ping compared to the dull thud of copper. The surface texture is also unique because aluminum oxidizes differently than copper, creating a slightly different patina over time, and experienced collectors can often identify these coins just by looking at them under proper lighting conditions. But here's something absolutely crucial that you need to understand. If you somehow discover that you possess one of these legendary 1974 D aluminum pennies, you cannot simply cash it in at your local coin shop or auction house because there's a massive legal controversy surrounding these coins. The U.S. government has maintained for decades that these aluminum pennies are technically government property because they were never officially released for circulation and should have been destroyed, which means that owning one exists in a legal gray area that has sparked numerous court battles and heated debates in the numismatic community. Several collectors who have come forward with these coins have had them confiscated by the Secret Service, while others have managed to maintain possession through various legal arguments, and the most famous case involves a 1974 D aluminum penny that was donated to the Smithsonian Institution, where it remains on display as part of the National Numismatic Collection. Despite these legal complications, the market value of these coins continues to soar whenever one appears for private sale, and conservative estimates place the value of a genuine 1974 D aluminum penny at $5 million, or potentially even higher depending on the condition and the buyer's desperation to own such a rare piece of American minting history. The fascination with this coin extends far beyond just its monetary value, though, because it represents a unique moment in American history when economic pressures nearly changed the composition of one of our most iconic coins, and it serves as a tangible reminder that even in our modern era of sophisticated production techniques and quality control measures, mistakes can still happen, and those mistakes can create objects of incredible value and desirability. Collectors who specialize in error coins consider the 1974 D aluminum penny to be the ultimate prize, the white whale of their hobby, and many have spent decades searching through rolls of pennies, examining estate sales, and networking with other collectors in hopes of discovering one of these legendary coins. The psychological appeal of this hunt cannot be overstated because it taps into that primal human desire to find hidden treasure, to stumble upon something extraordinary in the midst of the ordinary, and to experience that heart-pounding moment of realization when you discover that something you thought was worthless is actually priceless. Stories circulate in the coin collecting community about lucky individuals who allegedly found 1974 D aluminum pennies in the most unlikely places. In old piggy banks inherited from relatives, mixed in with regular change from a bankroll, or even discovered in the coin return slot of a vending machine. And while some of these stories are probably exaggerated or entirely fictional, they fuel the ongoing excitement and keep collectors searching with relentless determination. The technical aspects of how these coins came to exist outside the mint's control remain somewhat mysterious, with theories ranging from intentional theft by mint employees to accidental distribution when sample coins were sent to various government officials and vending machine companies for testing purposes. And some of these recipients may have spent the coins without realizing their significance or passed them along to family members who had no idea what they possessed. What we know for certain is that the 1974 D aluminum penny represents not just a minting error but a perfect storm of circumstances, experimental composition, government rejection, destruction order, survival against the odds, legal controversy, and extreme rarity, all combining to create one of the most valuable and sought-after coins in American numismatic history. Now, before I move on to tell you about that other incredibly valuable penny I mentioned at the beginning, the one worth $3 million that you absolutely need to know about, let me emphasize something really important. The likelihood of actually finding a 1974 aluminum penny is astronomically small, almost infinitesimally tiny, but that doesn't mean you should stop checking your coins, because the numismatic world is full of valuable varieties and errors that are much more common and still worth substantial amounts of money. And speaking of valuable pennies, stay tuned, because what I'm about to tell you next will blow your mind. The 2006 Lincoln penny I'm going to discuss has its own incredible story of rarity and value, and unlike the 1974 aluminum penny, there are actually more of these 2006 errors potentially in circulation, which means your chances of finding one are significantly better. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because you're about to learn something that could genuinely change your financial situation. Remember, treasure isn't always buried on a deserted island or hidden in an ancient tomb. Sometimes it's sitting in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. And the difference between being rich and staying broke might just be knowing what to look for, which is exactly what I'm here to teach you. Last 2006 Lincoln penny, and if you thought the story of that 1974 aluminum penny was incredible, wait until you hear about this particular coin, because we're talking about a penny from 2006 that collectors have valued at up to $3 million. And unlike the aluminum penny, which exists in such microscopic quantities that most people will never even see one in their lifetime, the 2006 Lincoln penny error we're discussing actually has a much higher chance of being found in everyday circulation, which means that right now, this very moment, you could have a $3 million coin sitting in your change jar, your car's cup holder, or even in your wallet, completely unnoticed and unappreciated. The 2006 Lincoln penny holds a special place in numismatic history, and the error variety we're focusing on is so dramatic, so visually striking, and so undeniably wrong that once you know what to look for, you'll never look at modern pennies the same way again. So what exactly makes a 2006 penny worth $3 million when billions of perfectly normal 2006 pennies were minted and are worth exactly 1 cent? The answer lies in one of the most spectacular minting errors ever to occur in modern American coinage, the incredibly rare wrong planchet error, and more specifically, we're talking about 2006 Lincoln pennies that were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations, creating coins that are fundamentally wrong in their composition, weight, and sometimes even size. You see, the United States Mint operates massive production facilities where millions of coins are manufactured every single day, and despite sophisticated quality control measures and modern technology, mistakes still happen, and when they do, the results can be absolutely extraordinary. In 2006, something went wrong at one of the mint facilities, and a small number of penny dies, the metal stamps used to impress the Lincoln design onto blank planchets, accidentally came into contact with planchets that were meant for entirely different coins, specifically dime planchets and potentially even quarter planchets. Can you imagine the scenario? Picture the production floor of a U.S. Mint facility, machines running at incredible speeds, millions of blanks being fed through presses, and somewhere in that organized chaos, a dime planchet, made of copper-nickel-clad composition and smaller in diameter than a penny planchet, somehow makes its way to the penny press and gets struck with the Lincoln penny design. The result is a coin that looks absolutely bizarre, a penny design compressed onto a smaller, lighter planchet, creating what collectors call an off-metal error, and these coins are among the most desirable errors in all of numismatics because they represent a complete breakdown in the minting process, not just a minor die crack or a slight misalignment, but a fundamental mistake where the wrong metal met the wrong die. The 2006 Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet is the poster child for this type of error. And when I tell you that confirmed examples have been valued at up to $3 million, I'm talking about coins that have been professionally authenticated, graded by reputable third-party services like PCGS or NGC, and sold at major auctions where serious collectors compete fiercely for the privilege of ownership. The value of these coins derives from multiple factors working in perfect harmony. Extreme rarity, obvious error that's immediately visible, modern date that's still within living memory, and the sheer impossibility of the mistake happening in the first place given modern quality control standards. Now, let me get specific about what you need to look for if you want to have any chance of finding one of these incredibly valuable coins, because knowledge is literally power in this situation, and knowing exactly what distinguishes a $3 million penny from a regular 1-cent piece could be the difference between throwing away a fortune and securing your financial future. First, examine the weight. A normal 2006 Lincoln penny weighs 2.5 grams because it's made of zinc with a thin copper plating, but a penny struck on a dime planchet weighs only about 2.27 grams, which is a small but measurable difference that you can detect with a precision scale. Second, check the diameter. A standard penny measures 19.05 millimeters across, while a dime measures only 17.91 millimeters. So if you have a 2006 Lincoln penny that appears slightly smaller than other pennies, your heart should start pounding because you might have found something extraordinary. Third, examine the edge of the coin carefully. Regular pennies have a plain edge, but if your 2006 penny shows the distinctive reading or ridges that are characteristic of dimes, you've definitely got an error coin on your hands, though the value will depend on how well the penny design was struck onto that wrong planchet. Fourth, look at the overall appearance and color. Coins struck on wrong planchets often have a different visual quality because the metal composition affects how the die impression appears, and a penny design on a dime planchet might show slightly different coloring or luster compared to normal pennies from the same year. The most valuable examples are those where the error is obvious and dramatic, where the penny design is fully visible despite being struck on the wrong planchet, and where the coin has been preserved in excellent condition without significant damage or wear. Now here's something that makes the 2006 Lincoln penny error even more exciting than the 1974 aluminum penny we discussed earlier. While the aluminum pennies number perhaps less than 10 surviving examples and face serious legal ownership challenges, the 2006 wrong planchet errors exist in slightly larger numbers, maybe dozens or possibly even 100 or more, though the exact population remains unknown because new examples continue to be discovered even today. This means that your chances of actually finding one of these valuable errors are significantly better, not good exactly, but better than winning the lottery and definitely better than finding one of those aluminum pennies. The history of how these errors escaped the mint and entered circulation is fascinating because it reveals the limitations of even the most sophisticated quality control systems, and it reminds us that human beings and mechanical systems are both fallible, prone to occasional mistakes that can have extraordinary consequences. Some experts believe that the wrong planchet errors occur during periods when production lines are being switched from one denomination to another, moments when residual planchets from the previous coin type might still be present in the machinery and accidentally get fed into the new production run, while other theories suggest that planchet mixing might occur in storage areas where different denominations are kept in proximity. Regardless of how it happened, the fact remains that genuine 2006 Lincoln pennies struck on wrong planchets exist. They have been authenticated, and they are worth enormous sums of money to the right collector. The authentication process for these coins is crucial because the high values involved have inevitably attracted counterfeiters and scam artists who try to create fake errors or who misrepresent regular coins as rarities. So if you believe you found a valuable error coin, you absolutely must have it examined by professionals who can verify its authenticity before you celebrate your newfound wealth. Professional grading services employ sophisticated equipment and experienced numismatists who can detect even the cleverest fakes, examining everything from weight and dimensions to metal composition and die characteristics to determine whether a coin is genuinely an error or just a damaged, altered, or counterfeit piece. The grading process also assigns a numerical grade to authentic errors, rating their condition on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher numbers indicating better preservation, and this grade significantly impacts value. A 2006 wrong planchet error in lower grade might be worth tens of thousands of dollars, while a pristine example could command that $3 million price tag or even more depending on the specific characteristics and the competitive intensity of the auction where it's sold. Beyond the wrong planchet variety, the 2006 Lincoln Penny is also notable for other error types that, while not worth millions, are still valuable enough to make checking your 2006 pennies worthwhile. These include double die varieties where the design shows doubling in certain areas due to die manufacturing issues, off-center strikes where the design is misaligned on the planchet, and broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the restraining collar, resulting in a larger diameter and unusual appearance. Each of these error types has its own following among collectors, its own value range depending on severity and rarity, and its own fascinating story about how the mistake occurred and why it makes the coin desirable. The psychological appeal of hunting for these modern errors cannot be overstated because we're not talking about ancient coins or century-old rarities that have long since disappeared from circulation. We're talking about coins minted during the lifetime of most people reading this, coins that could genuinely still be out there in pocket change, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. This accessibility, this possibility that you could be the one to find a multi-million-dollar coin in your spare change, drives the excitement and keeps collectors searching with relentless determination through rolls from banks, examining coins received as change from stores, and checking every single penny that passes through their hands. Stories abound in online coin collecting forums and social media groups about lucky individuals who found valuable errors in the most mundane circumstances. Someone discovered a wrong planchet error in a roll purchased from their local bank. Another person found one in change from a grocery store, and yet another spotted one in an old coin jar that had been sitting forgotten in their closet for years. While it's impossible to verify all of these stories and some are undoubtedly exaggerated or false, the fact remains that genuine valuable errors get discovered by ordinary people, and there's no reason why you couldn't be the next lucky person to make such a discovery if you educate yourself about what to look for and develop the habit of carefully examining your coins. The market for error coins has exploded in recent decades as more people have become interested in numismatics, and as the internet has made it easier for collectors to connect, share information, and compete for rare specimens. And this increased demand has driven prices to levels that would have seemed absolutely insane just a generation ago. A coin that might have been worth a few $100s in the 1980s could now command thousands or even millions depending on its rarity and desirability. And this appreciation in value has created a new class of investors who view rare coins not just as collectibles but as alternative assets comparable to fine art, vintage wine, or classic cars. The 2006 Lincoln Penny struck on wrong planchet represents the pinnacle of modern era coin collecting, combining rarity, obvious visual appeal, recent date, and spectacular value in one small package. And for collectors who dream of owning the ultimate era coin, this is often the holy grail they seek. The community of era coin collectors is passionate, knowledgeable, and incredibly generous with information. And if you develop an interest in this fascinating hobby, you'll find numerous online resources, forums, clubs, and educational materials to help you learn the ins and outs of identifying, authenticating, and valuing error coins. Understanding the minting process itself is crucial to appreciating why certain errors are rare and valuable. The U.S. Mint operates with incredible precision, producing billions of coins annually with remarkably few mistakes. So when an error does occur, and especially when that error makes it past quality control inspectors and into public circulation, it represents a genuine anomaly, a statistical improbability that creates an object of fascination and value. The 2006 penny is particularly interesting because 2006 was a massive production year for Lincoln cents, with over 7.5 billion pennies struck across various mint facilities, And yet among those billions of coins, only a tiny handful of wrong planchet errors are known to exist, demonstrating just how effective modern quality control actually is and how lucky you'd have to be to discover one of these errors. This vast population of regular 2006 pennies also means that you'll need patience and persistence if you want to search for errors, because you'll examine thousands of perfectly normal coins for every interesting variety you encounter. But isn't that the nature of treasure hunting? The possibility of finding something extraordinary keeps you going through all the ordinary discoveries. And when you finally do spot that unusual coin, that moment of recognition and excitement makes all the previous disappointments worthwhile. Whether you're a serious collector with years of experience or a complete beginner who's just learning about the fascinating world of numismatics, the 2006 Lincoln penny and its incredibly valuable wrong planchet variety offers a compelling entry point into error coin collecting, because it proves that modern coins can be just as rare and valuable as ancient or historical specimens. So here's my challenge to you. Starting right now, today, make it a habit to actually look at the coins that pass through your hands instead of just spending them thoughtlessly, because you never know when you might spot something unusual, something that doesn't quite look right, something that could potentially be worth a fortune. Check the dates, examine the designs, feel the weights, measure the diameters if something seems off, and don't hesitate to invest in a basic scale and magnifying glass if you're serious about this search, because these simple tools can help you identify errors that might otherwise go unnoticed. And remember, the difference between someone who finds a valuable error coin and someone who spends it without realizing what they had often comes down to nothing more than knowledge and awareness. Now that you know about the 2006 Lincoln penny struck on wrong planchet, now that you understand it's worth up to $3 million, now that you can recognize the signs that distinguish it from regular pennies, you have the power to potentially change your life if you happen to encounter one of these extraordinary coins. The treasure is out there, circulating in the economy right alongside billions of ordinary pennies, and while the odds are certainly against you finding one, somebody somewhere will find the next example to emerge from hiding, so why couldn't that person be you? Stay curious, stay observant, stay educated about coins and their values, and who knows? Maybe one day you'll be the person posting that incredible discovery story online, sharing photos of your authenticated multimillion-dollar error coin, and inspiring others to search their own pocket change with renewed hope and determination. The beauty of coin collecting as a hobby is that it combines history, art, economics, and treasure hunting into one engaging pursuit. And the potential for discovering valuable errors adds an element of excitement that few other hobbies can match. So whether you find $1 million coin or simply enjoy learning about the fascinating stories behind different errors and varieties, you'll have enriched your life and developed a deeper appreciation for those small metal discs that we use every day without really thinking about them. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. And if you found this information valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel Error Coins Hub for more incredible coin stories and valuable information, and drop a comment below telling me whether you'll be checking your 2006 pennies from now on. I love hearing from viewers and learning about your own coin hunting adventures, discoveries, and questions. Remember, fortune favors the prepared mind. And now that your mind is prepared with the knowledge of these incredibly valuable Lincoln pennies from 1974 and 2006, you're ready to start your own treasure hunting journey. So get out there and start checking those coins, because your life-changing discovery might be closer than you think.